They paid me $200,000 a year to keep my mouth shut. For 30 years I stayed silent. I signed the papers. I took the money. I kept the secret. But today, that ends. My name doesn't matter. What matters is what I'm about to tell you. Because what's happening inside Area 51, what the United States government has been hiding from the American people for over 70 years, you deserve to know the truth. And I'm done being part of the lie. Let me be clear about something. I could lose everything from making this video. My pension, my freedom, maybe even my life. The non-disclosure agreement I signed in 1994 doesn't have an expiration date. It says, quote, in perpetuity, end quote. That means forever. But here's what I realized. Some secrets are too important to keep. Some truths are bigger than one person's safety. And what I witnessed inside that facility, what I was paid a fortune to never speak about. The American people have a right to know. So here it is. Everything. The whole truth. For the first time in 30 years. My story begins in December 1993. I was working as an aerospace engineer for a defense contractor in Southern California. I had top-secret clearance. I'd worked on classified projects before. Stealth technology, radar systems. Nothing unusual for someone in my field. Then one day I got a call. Not through normal channels. Not through my supervisor. A private number. A man's voice I didn't recognize. He said my name. Then he said, "We'd like to talk to you about a special opportunity. An opportunity that could change your life." 2 weeks later, I was sitting in a windowless room in Las Vegas with 3 men in dark suits. No names, no business cards, just 3 men and a stack of papers in front of me. They asked me questions for 2 hours. Not about my technical skills. They already knew what I could do. They asked about my family, my debts, my political views, my loyalty to my country. Then one of them slid a document across the table. It was a contract, and at the bottom in bold numbers was a salary figure that made my hands shake. $200,000 per year. In 1994, that was serious money. My current salary was $60,000. This was more than triple. Life-changing money. Set your family up for life money. But there was a catch. The man looked me in the eye and said, "If you sign this, you can never tell anyone what you do. Not your wife, not your children, not your priest, not even in a confession on your deathbed. If you break this agreement, you will face federal prosecution. You could spend the rest of your life in prison. Do you understand?" I understood. I signed. 3 days later, I was on a small unmarked plane, flying north from Las Vegas into the Nevada desert. There were 6 of us on that plane. None of us spoke. We'd all been instructed. No questions, no conversations. Just sit and wait. We landed on a dry lake bed in the middle of nowhere. When I stepped off that plane, the heat hit me like a wall. It must have been 110 degrees. Nothing around us but desert and mountains. Then I saw it. In the distance, a cluster of buildings that shouldn't exist. Hangars, towers, runways stretching for miles. All of it shimmering in the heat like a mirage. Area 51, Groom Lake, Dreamland, whatever you want to call it. It was real. And I was standing right in front of it. A white bus with blacked-out windows drove us to the main facility. When we got inside, the temperature dropped. Air conditioning, fluorescent lights. It looked like any other government building. Sterile. Cold, bureaucratic. But it wasn't like any other building. We were taken to orientation.
A man in a military uniform, no name tag, no rank insignia, stood at the front of the room. He said, "Welcome to the most classified facility in the United States. What you see here, what you learn here, what you work on here stays here forever." He wasn't joking. The security was unlike anything I'd ever experienced. Retinal scans, fingerprint analysis, armed guards everywhere, cameras in every hallway. You couldn't go to the bathroom without someone knowing about it. But the most unsettling thing, the compartmentalization. Nobody knew what anyone else was working on. You had your project, your team, your section of the facility, and that was it. You didn't ask questions, you didn't wander. You stayed in your lane.
The people who run this program, the people who decide what gets released and what stays hidden, they're not accountable to Congress. They're not accountable to the president. They operate in a world beyond oversight, beyond democracy. They call it an unacknowledged special access program, a USAP. It's funded through black budgets, money that disappears into projects the public knows nothing about, tens of billions of dollars every year. And the technology, it stays locked away, because releasing it would collapse entire industries. Oil, gas, transportation, energy. Trillions of dollars would evaporate overnight. The most powerful people in the world would lose their power. So they keep it hidden. They pay people like me six-figure salaries to stay quiet. And if you threaten to talk, they destroy you. I saw it happen. In 1998, one of the scientists I worked with started asking too many questions. He wanted to know why we weren't sharing this technology with the world. He said it was immoral to keep it secret. 3 weeks later, he was gone. No explanation, no goodbye, just gone. When I asked my supervisor what happened, he looked me in the eye and said, he decided to pursue other opportunities. I got the message, stay quiet, take the money, or disappear. So I stayed quiet. For 30 years, I stayed quiet, but I can't do it anymore. Because in the last few years, something has changed. The government is slowly starting to admit the truth. In 2020, the Pentagon released videos of UFOs. In 2021, they admitted they don't know what these objects are. In 2023, a former intelligence officer testified to Congress that we have retrieved non-human craft. The wall of secrecy is cracking, and I think it's time for the whole truth to come out. So here's what I'm telling you. Everything you've been told about Area 51 is both true and false. Yes, we test experimental aircraft there, but that's the cover story. The real work, the truly classified work, is happening underground, and it involves technology that didn't come from this planet. We have craft, multiple craft. We've been studying them for decades. We've made breakthroughs in propulsion, energy, and material science that would revolutionize civilization. But it's all being kept secret. Why? Because the people in power benefit from keeping things the way they are. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. If this is all true, why hasn't anyone else come forward? Why aren't there more whistleblowers? The answer is simple: fear. Most people who work on these programs have families, mortgages, lives they don't want to lose. The government doesn't need to threaten everyone. They just need to make an example of a few people, and everyone else gets the message. But I'm old now. My kids are grown. My wife passed away 3 years ago. I don't have much left to lose, and I can't go to my grave carrying this secret. The American people deserve to know the truth.
You deserve to know that solutions to climate change, energy crises, and poverty exist. They've existed for decades, but they're being withheld. You deserve to know that we're not alone in the universe, that we've been visited, that we have physical evidence, and that your government has been lying to you about it for over 70 years. I don't expect everyone to believe me. I don't have physical proof. I couldn't take photos. I couldn't smuggle out documents. Everything stays inside that facility. All I have is my testimony and the knowledge that I'm telling you the truth. So what happens now, I don't know. Maybe nothing. Maybe this video gets buried by the algorithm. Maybe I get a visit from men in dark suits. Maybe I end up in federal prison for violating my NDA. But at least I'll know I tried. At least I'll know I told the truth. If you're watching this, I'm asking you to do something. Share it, talk about it, demand answers from your elected officials, demand transparency, demand disclosure. Because this isn't just about aliens or UFOs. This is about accountability. This is about whether we live in a democracy or an oligarchy. This is about whether the people have a right to know what their government is doing in their name with their tax dollars. The truth is out there, and it's been hidden for far too long. My name doesn't matter. What matters is the truth, and I've just told you everything. They paid me $200,000 a year to keep this secret. But some secrets are too big to keep. Some truths are too important to hide. And after 30 years of silence, I'm finally free. Thank you for watching. Share this video, ask questions, demand answers. The age of secrecy is ending. The age of truth is beginning. And you're part of it. But let me tell you what happened after I made that discovery. Because the story doesn't end there. In fact, that's where it gets even darker. After 2 years of working on the propulsion system, I thought I understood the scope of what was happening at Area 51. I thought I'd seen everything. I was wrong. In January 1997, I was called into another meeting. This time with people I'd never seen before. They weren't military, they weren't scientists. They wore expensive suits. They looked like corporate executives. And they asked me a question that changed everything. They said, "How would you feel about meeting one of them?" I didn't understand at first. Meeting who? One of the engineers who built the craft? One of the original Roswell witnesses? No, one of them, the beings, the entities, the pilots. My heart stopped. I said, "You're telling me there's a living extraterrestrial here, at this facility?" They didn't answer directly. They just said, "If you agree to this, you'll be signing an additional non-disclosure agreement. Your salary will increase to $300,000 per year, and you can never, ever speak about what you're about to see." I should have said no. I should have walked away right then. But curiosity is a powerful thing, and I wanted to know. I needed to know, so I signed the papers, and 3 days later, they took me to a section of the facility I didn't even know existed. Level 6. 6 levels underground, so deep that my ears popped from the pressure change. The corridor was different down there, colder, quieter, more sterile, like a hospital, or a prison. We stopped at a door, marked S4 Biological Research. My escort swiped his badge. The door opened, and I stepped into a room that looked like a medical observation unit. There was a window, thick glass, maybe 3 inches thick, and on the other side of that glass was a small room. Clinical, white walls, monitoring equipment, cameras. And sitting on a chair in the center of that room was a being that wasn't human. It was small, maybe 4 feet tall, thin, impossibly thin. Its limbs were elongated, its skin was gray, not like paint, like actual gray flesh, smooth, almost translucent under the harsh lights. But it was the eyes that hit me. Large, black, almond-shaped, no whites, no pupils that I could see, just solid black. And when those eyes turned toward the window, toward me, I felt something I'd never felt before. It was looking at me. Not just looking, seeing, into me, through me. The scientist standing next to me said, "We call this one J-Rod. It's been here since 1989. We recovered it from a crash site in New Mexico. It was injured, dying. We've kept it alive, stable, and we've learned to communicate with it." I couldn't speak. I couldn't move. I just stared. The being stood up slowly. It moved with a strange grace, fluid, like it was underwater. It walked toward the glass, right up to the window, and it stood there, looking at me. Then I heard something, not with my ears, inside my head, a voice, but not a voice, thoughts, images, feelings. It was communicating with me, telepathically. I saw images flash through my mind. A planet, different from Earth. 2 suns in the sky, cities that looked organic, grown, not built. Then I saw Earth, from space, beautiful, blue, fragile. Then I saw fire, destruction, oceans rising, cities underwater, billions of people suffering. It was showing me a warning, a future, our future. The being stepped back. The connection broke, and I collapsed against the wall. My supervisor caught me. He said, "It does that to everyone the first time. You'll get used to it." But I never did. For the next 3 years, I worked with that being. I was part of a team studying its biology, its consciousness, its technology, and what we learned was terrifying. These beings, they're not explorers, they're not conquerors, they're observers, watchers. They've been monitoring Earth for thousands of years, and they're concerned. Why? Because we have nuclear weapons, because we're destroying our environment, because we're on the verge of either evolving into a spacefaring civilization or destroying ourselves completely. And they want to know which path we're going to choose. J-Rod told us through telepathic communication that there are rules, cosmic rules, non-interference protocols. They can't directly intervene in human affairs, but they can watch, they can study, and if necessary, they can take action to prevent us from becoming a threat to other worlds. Think about that. We're being monitored, evaluated, and if we fail the test, we might not get a second chance. The being also told us something else, something that shocked even the most skeptical scientists in the program. It said, "We are you. You are us." At first, we thought it was a translation error, but no, it kept repeating it. Over and over, "We are you, you are us." Eventually we understood. These beings, these gray aliens, they're not from another planet in the traditional sense. They're from Earth, from our future. They're humans, evolved humans, thousands, maybe millions of years in the future, and they've developed the technology to travel through time. They came back to study their own past, to understand where they came from, and to make sure the timeline stays intact. That's why they don't intervene directly, because changing the past could erase their entire existence. I know how insane this sounds. I know you're thinking I've lost my mind. But I'm telling you what I was told, what I experienced, what multiple scientists confirmed through years of research. These beings are us, from a future where humanity survived, where we solved our problems, where we became something greater. But here's the terrifying part. J-Rod also showed us another timeline, a timeline where we don't make it, where nuclear war, climate collapse, or some other catastrophe wipes us out. And in that timeline, they don't exist. We're at a crossroads, and the choices we make in the next 50 years will determine which future becomes real. Now, you might be asking, if the government knows all this, why aren't they telling us? Why keep it secret? The answer is panic, control, power. In 1961, a report was commissioned called the Brookings Report. It was a study on the potential consequences of discovering extraterrestrial life. The conclusion? It would cause mass panic. Religious institutions would collapse, social order would break down, economies would crash. So the decision was made at the highest levels of government. Keep it secret, deny everything, and slowly, gradually prepare the public through controlled disclosure. That's what's happening now. The Pentagon UFO videos, the congressional testimonies, the mainstream media coverage. It's all part of a plan, a slow drip of information to prepare society for the ultimate revelation. But here's what they're not telling you. The revelation isn't just that aliens exist, it's that they're us. It's that time travel is possible. It's that our future is at stake. And it's that the technology to save ourselves already exists. Right now. Hidden in underground facilities, locked away by people who benefit from keeping things the way they are. I worked in that world for 15 years, from 1994 to 2009, and in that time I saw things that most people wouldn't believe. I saw craft that could travel from stationary to thousands of miles per hour in an instant. No sonic boom, no G-forces, just instant acceleration. I saw materials that were stronger than any metal we have, but lighter than aluminum. Materials that could repair themselves, that could change their properties based on electrical input. I saw energy systems that could power an entire city for a year using a fuel source the size of a softball. And I saw beings that could communicate without speaking, that could manipulate objects with their minds, that understood physics in ways we're only beginning to grasp. All of this exists right now, and it's being kept from you. In 2009, I left the program, not because I wanted to, but because I started asking too many questions. I started pushing for disclosure. I started saying we have a moral obligation to share this technology with the world. And that's when things got dangerous. I started noticing cars following me. My phone would click during conversations. My emails were being monitored. One night I came home and my house had been searched. Nothing was stolen. But things were moved. Files were gone through. It was a message. We know where you live. We're watching you. Stay quiet. So I did. For 14 more years, I stayed quiet. I took my pension. I moved to a different state. I lived a quiet life. But then my wife got sick. Cancer. Stage 4. The doctors said it was aggressive. Unusual. She'd never smoked. Never worked with chemicals. Just suddenly, cancer. I'll never know for sure, but I have my suspicions. I think they did something to her, to punish me, to remind me what happens when you ask too many questions. She died in 2021, and something in me died with her. The fear, the compliance, the willingness to stay silent because I realized something. If they can do that to her, if they can murder an innocent woman just to send a message, then they're not the good guys. They're not protecting national security. They're protecting their own power. And I'm done being part of it. So here I am, breaking my 30-year silence, violating my NDA, risking everything. Because you need to know. The American people need to know. The world needs to know we have the technology to end poverty, to reverse climate change, to explore the universe, to become something greater than we are. But it's being kept from us by a small group of unelected, unaccountable people who operate in the shadows. And the only way this changes is if enough people demand it, if enough people refuse to accept the lies, if enough people say no more secrets, no more cover-ups. We want the truth. I'm just one person, one voice. But if enough of us speak up, they can't silence us all. So I'm asking you, share this video. Talk to your friends, your family, your elected representatives. Demand congressional hearings, demand transparency, demand that the technology hidden at Area 51 and facilities like it be released for the benefit of all humanity. Don't let them convince you this is crazy. Don't let them dismiss you as a conspiracy theorist. History is full of conspiracies that turned out to be true. Watergate, MK Ultra, NSA mass surveillance, the Gulf of Tonkin incident. Governments lie. Powerful people hide the truth. And the only way we find out is when brave people come forward and tell us what's really happening. I'm one of those people. And there are others. Military personnel who've seen craft performing impossible maneuvers. Intelligence officers who've handled crash debris. Scientists who've studied non-human biology. We're out here, and more of us are coming forward every day. The age of secrecy is ending. The truth is coming out. And you're witnessing it happen in real time. Now I want to address something. I know there are going to be people who try to discredit me, who say I'm lying, who say I'm mentally ill, who say I'm making this up for attention or money. Let me be clear. I'm not making a cent from this video. I'm not selling a book. I'm not starting a podcast. I have nothing to gain from this except the satisfaction of finally telling the truth. And I have everything to lose. My freedom, my reputation, possibly my life, but I'm doing it anyway. Because some things are more important than personal safety. Some truths are too big to keep hidden. The technology exists, the beings exist, the cover-up exists. And it's time for all of it to come to light. I don't have all the answers. I don't know exactly who's running these programs. I don't know where all the facilities are located. I don't know the full scope of what's been hidden. But I know what I saw. I know what I worked on. And I know that the American people are being lied to on a massive scale. So, what can you do? First, educate yourself. Research the Pentagon UFO videos. Read the congressional testimonies. Look into the history of Area 51 and other classified facilities. Second, contact your representatives. Demand hearings. Demand transparency. Demand that classified documents be declassified. Third, support whistleblowers. People who come forward with the truth often pay a heavy price. They need to know that the public has their back. And finally, don't give up. This isn't going to be easy. The powers that benefit from secrecy aren't going to give up without a fight. But if enough of us keep pushing, keep demanding, keep refusing to accept the lies, we can force change. The truth is coming, whether they like it or not. I'm 68 years old. I don't have a lot of time left, but I'm going to spend whatever time I have left fighting for disclosure, fighting for transparency, fighting for the truth, and I hope you'll join me. They paid me $200,000 a year to keep this secret. But I've learned something over the last 30 years. Some secrets aren't worth keeping. Some truths are more valuable than money. And some fights are worth fighting, even if you know you might lose. This is one of those fights. So here's my final message to the people watching this video. Thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for caring. Thank you for demanding the truth. To the people who tried to silence me, who threatened me, who destroyed my life to keep me quiet, I'm not afraid of you anymore. Do your worst. The truth is out there now, and you can't put it back in the box. And to the beings, wherever you are, whatever you are, I hope we make the right choice. I hope we choose the future where we survive, where we evolve, where we become worthy of joining the cosmic community. Because right now we're at a crossroads, and the path we choose will determine everything. Choose wisely, choose truth, choose disclosure. The time for secrets is over. The time for truth has come. Thank you for watching. Share this video, spread the word, and never stop asking questions. Because the truth is out there, and together we're going to find it. My name doesn't matter, but my story does. And now it's yours. They can't silence all of us. The age of disclosure has begun, and you're part of history.